So when people read our work on loitering, they would keep asking us, but how are you going to operationalize loitering? And really, we had no answer. This was an abstract utopian vision of how we saw the city and a possibility of a transformative politics. So we were so excited and delighted to find that the Why Loiter movement had taken these ideas, they had run with them, and that they were in a very real sense using the ideas of our book to actually loiter, to hang out in public space, and to claim the city with their bodies. And now that's a question that nobody is asking us anymore, and if they do, then we have an answer, because we don't have to operationalize loitering. There are people who are doing this as a politics of change. Loitering as a politics of everyday access to public space and an embodied access to public space does something that is very particular. It claims this space, but it claims it as a space of fun, and in doing so it claims the space as citizens, not as consumer citizens. So in that, loitering is really a politics of doing nothing. So there is both a gendered claims taking, and there is a larger project underway as well, a project that demands the right to claim our streets and to claim them to really do nothing, to be unproductive, to just be and to have fun.
Very sad that if women, girls, females wants to go out, there has to be a reason, there has to be a planning. मतलब क्यों बिना कारण के बाहर घूम नहीं सकते? मतलब सीन क्या है? उसके लिए भी मूवमेंट है. I mean, she said there's no plan. And like, what? She said yeah, that's the thing, that's the movement. हम लोग बस रात भर घूमेंगे. ये क्या है? फिर धीरे धीरे I got to know about many things that yeah, and actually I got aware because of this movement कि actually लड़कियां नहीं जाती बाहर, और people don't go out without planning, without an event, without any purpose. I mean, it's very sad actually. So because of this movement I got aware कि आज तक जो मैं करती आ रही थी, I was only loitering in my life actually, क्योंकि मेरी लाइफ मोस्टली विदाउट प्लानिंग के ही होती है. और रिसेंटली आई रियलाइज्ड कि स्पेशली गाइज, बॉयज, दे ऑलवेज प्लान. अगर आप उनको कहीं लेके जाओ, अगर आप उनके साथ कहीं जाओ, देयर हैज टू बी अ प्लान कि मूवी जाना है, मूवी के बाद कुछ है तो ठीक है, नहीं तो घर आ जाओ. आई मीन लाइक यार, अगर आप बाहर जा रहे हो, फिल्म देख रहे हो, सो फिल्म खत्म होने के बाद you can go around, you can go anywhere else if you have time, but they don't do it. Okay, so yeah, they want planning, and I have an issue with this scene कि what's the plan? I mean guys, plan ये कि कोई plan नहीं है life में. I travel a lot alone actually, because जैसे मैंने कहा कि प्लानिंग मेरे पास तो कभी होती नहीं है. सो जिसको भी अगर आप ऑफर करते हो तो दे नीड सम रीजन एंड आई डोंट हैव इट. सो कोई चलता नहीं है, सो मैं अकेली चली जाती हूँ. सो रिसेंटली आई वेंट टू धर्मशाला इंटरनेशनल फिल्म फेस्टिवल. आई जस्ट हर्ड अबाउट इट and I booked my ticket and went there without any planning, without any booking, without anything else. I just landed up there with my bag. I still remember that morning. I landed up there and I was like, ये मैं कहाँ हूँ और अब मुझे क्या करना है लाइफ में. Then I googled many hostels. I called few friends. Nobody picked up. I I was walking around and I was asking कि कोई सस्ता सा dormitory है क्या या कुछ है क्या. Luckily I found a very good place to stay. I stayed there for 5 days. I watched so many movies, and I tell you that that festival was one of the best experience of my life.
Yes, during one of our wildlighter sessions, we decided to just lie down and sleep in the park. And yeah, it sounded really bizarre to a lot of people, whoever I shared this with, most of them, that what's this whole idea of just going into a park and not chit chatting, not jogging or exercising, and you're dozing off. But that's the whole point, because this is so uncommon, this is so unfamiliar, because you never see a woman, sleeping peacefully in a public space. The whole idea of sleeping out of your comfort zone, basically not your bedroom or your own house, that itself is is a sign of taking up space. And also this whole perspective of safety and security comes. We don't usually see women sleeping in public places, or we think twice before dozing off in a public transport, in a cab, if you're traveling alone, especially at night, and we know why. But we have often seen men peacefully sleeping on the roadside, bus stands, parks, like different public places. But it has been such a normal scenario that we never bothered to think about it. And it's sort of like, yeah, it has been normalized in such a way that we have sort of accepted in our subconscious that, yeah, this is what it is. And we are not supposed to doze off in a in a public space. So when we did this session as a part of Wild Loiter movement, it was really refreshing. And when we did it, we were all laughing and chilling, and finally we tried sleeping, and some of us did actually fall asleep. But that was the time we realized that yes, it does feel different, and it does feel nice. I mean, I did have a sense of, empowerment. Yeah, something as basic as sleeping, which looks like luxury to us if we try doing it in a public place. But why should that be? It is actually like a basic necessity in our lives, and we should have the freedom to doze off, to pass out, to sleep, to relax wherever we want. And we could do this because the movement happened. We we sort of had got to experience what does it really feel to actually lie down in a public place. Just the whole idea of stretching your legs, stretching your arms, and be comfortable, that itself is such a big ice-breaking moment for so many of us. So then you realize we have such a long way to go, and where we really stand in this society as a gender, and we have to do so much more. We are still so privileged, and I can't even imagine how this is such a distant dream for so many other women. And but I'm glad we took these baby steps, and I got to be a part of these baby steps, which are not really baby steps, and this is just the beginning. And I hope someday we all can pass out and sleep peacefully wherever we want, without worrying about our safety and security. So
because for me it was just a bunch of women getting together at odd times of the day in public spaces and having very interesting conversations, and conversations again not any with any agenda as such, but just we just met and spoke. In fact, that is the only reason that I joined the first time that they all met, when Neha and this other girl Devina, they sent a message out to all of us saying that let's all do this, that women need to reclaim public, something about why loiter and something about loitering, which I didn't really buy into, because I thought loitering is a bad thing, it's a waste of time, even men shouldn't be loitering. So why are we seeking a right to loiter? So that I didn't really buy into, but I just did think that as an activity, women getting together and having conversations is interesting. I think that first time what we did was we all met at a what they call a chai tapri, like to have tea in the evening, which typically, yes, men gather around those tea stalls and have tea, but I didn't think about it so much, and it was evening and it was fun. So I did get this aspect, I did get the aspect of what I looked forward to, meeting a lot of interesting women from different walks of life, living conscious lives, and so that was interesting. But I got a lot more without even realizing it. So now when Neha's asked me to make this video, I'm realizing a lot of things, like how unknowingly, without any agenda, these conversations and just these meetings made me think about my position in my space, exactly, literally, in society. That I occupy space and this means something, there's a certain weight to it. And I think men inherit this or know this naturally, that they as human beings with a human consciousness stand for something and have a certain weight in society. But women don't think of themselves. We are always trying to hide ourselves. We are always trying to, we feel that we are imposing wherever we go. And it's unfair. We are as much human, right? So the more you realize it, the more it hits you how unfair society is structured. And it's so wonderful to be conscious of it, and actually a lot of men also are not conscious of this. So I have had many interesting conversations with my male friends who love me, who care for me, and there have been debates. My mind has opened to about society, about how men think, about how I have been thinking all my life. It has really given me a certain confidence as I navigate through life. That would be my personal takeaway from this whole thing, from being a part of Why Loiter movement, as you're calling it now. But there are a lot of little aspects that it opened my eyes towards and helped me improve my relationship with men, with society in general, and with myself. So that's what I would say about it. That's my key takeaway from the Why Loiter movement. And also the fact that the only way to make the world a safer place is for women to step out in larger numbers and occupy public spaces, as opposed to the opposite, where women hide themselves from public spaces in order to be safe. That is not, we have been thinking of it completely lopsided so far.
लगता है कि वाइल्ड ऑटर का जो स्केल है वो मैटर नहीं करता कि आप किस स्केल पे उसको ऑपरेट कर रहे हैं। वो 2 लोगों के साथ भी हो सकता है, 4 लोगों के साथ भी हो सकता है, 10 लोगों के साथ, और कहीं पर भी किया जा सकता है। जैसे कि हमने मेट्रो स्टेशन पे की, मेट्रो के अंदर किया, एंड हमने उसके प्लेस बनाए, हमने स्ट्रीट वॉक किया, वॉक लाइक अ वुमन, एक वॉक डिज़ाइन किया था नेहा ने, हमने वो किया। तो कुछ कुछ चीज़ें मुझे जो बहुत पसंद है कि ये जेंडर बेस्ड नहीं है, ये सिर्फ लड़कियों के बारे में नहीं है, लड़के भी इसमें पार्टिसिपेट कर सकते हैं। ये कॉस्ट्यूम ड्रेस बेस्ड नहीं है, इसमें आप इंटरचेंज कॉस्ट्यूम या ये बेसिकली एक ऐसा मूवमेंट है जो औरतों के बारे में बात करता है, बट सिर्फ औरतें इसके बारे में बात नहीं कर रही हैं, आदमी भी इसके बारे में बात कर रहे हैं। तो एंड आई फील कि अगर वुमेन की बात हो रही है तो आदमियों का एजुकेट होना बहुत इम्पोर्टेंट है, साथ साथ वुमेन को तो एजुकेट होना इम्पोर्टेंट है। एंड बहुत अच्छी चीज़ नेहा बोलती है कि कैसे आप पब्लिक स्पेसेस हैं, जैसे कि अच्छा एक स्पेस है जो सिर्फ एक स्पेसिफिक जेंडर ओन करता है उसको, जैसे नाइट बस स्टैंड और रेलवे स्टेशन और पार्क और बाकी की जो लाइक प्लेसेस इन द नाइट जहाँ पर सिर्फ आदमी जा सकते हैं, आदमी घूम सकते हैं। वाई वुमेन कांट गो देयर इन द नाइट, वाई वुमेन हैव दीज लिमिटेशंस कि नहीं वहाँ आप नहीं जा सकते, या फिर वहाँ पर आप ऐसे कपड़े नहीं पहन सकते, जो भी सोसाइटी में आजकल चली रहा है, हम सबको पता है। तो उन चीज़ों को क्लेम करना, उन चीज़ों को बारे में बात करना, उन चीज़ों के बारे में आवाज़ उठाना, और ये बहुत इम्पॉर्टेंट है। और ये मूवमेंट अगेन जैसे मैंने कहा कि ये सिर्फ लिमिटेड नहीं है कि हमें बहुत भीड़ चाहिए या 15 लोग चाहिए या 1500 लोग चाहिए, या हमें झंडे गाड़ने यहाँ पर या बात करनी, ये 2-4 लोगों के साथ भी किया जा सकता है, और कहीं पर भी ऑल ओवर द वर्ल्ड वी कैन डू दिस। वी जस्ट नीड अ थॉट एंड देन वी नीड टू स्टार्ट।
As a sociology student, I have actually always wondered why I have seen a lot of men hanging around aimlessly, like without any kind of specific agenda in public spaces like parks or next to a tea stall, sipping tea and just staring into the abyss. And how come I've not seen many women do that? Or a lot of men eating alone at restaurants versus a lot of women. And I used to keep wondering if it has any kind of linkage to the fact that, you know, as a patriarchal society, we may be conditioned to the idea that men are often served food first. And they might be more comfortable with that generationally. So going to a restaurant and just being served the food, eating the food might be more comforting for them. Or a public space is not that accessible to a woman to just sit and be by herself without any specific agenda. So with this, I was so happy to find out that there is a movement called Why Loiter, where any individual can kind of just, with the agenda of reclaiming public, not even I think claiming for the first time public spaces as women, through different types of activities and movements. It could be alone, it could be with a group, it could be with a friend. There was no specific tailor-made agenda that had to be followed to be a part of the group. So I participated in one of the first movements that I participated in was going to a public park and occupying space without any agenda. Now I realized if I go with a group, I will already feel a sense of, belongingness to people, and my hesitation might be limited. So I had decided to do this alone, and I went to the park in the building that I lived in at that time. But I was surprised that while I was going to the park, I felt that I have to take a book along with me. I have to take a bed sheet along with me because I need to have a purpose to go and sit in the park. So I went there, I tried to find a corner. There were people looking at me because I was just, walking around without having a clue on what I was aiming to do over there. And finally I found a spot and I sat there and I started pretending to read my book because I was feeling so nervous that this is staged. So I started reading my book, and all of a sudden I started noticing that the men walking in the park started rerouting themselves to cross me, and there were people who even took pictures of me. Of course I complained about them and tried to get something done, but I was feeling extremely uncomfortable alone, and I realized that as a first step, I think even if I'd gone with one more person, it would have been a little easier. But that's the kind of situation we're in, that just going and sitting at a park alone in my own building park was making me feel so uncomfortable. Another example is that outside my house once I saw this man skipping in the middle of the road, like just next to a tobacco shop, and right on the road. And I just saw him skipping, and I kept wondering, if I went and started skipping over there, I'm sure I would have gotten a lot of people looking back at me. But this man was skipping and nobody was really looking at him. So I decided I have to do this. And then I walked down and I started skipping. And as I had suspected, every single person who was crossing me was just turning around and staring at me as if I'm a mad person to be doing something like that over there. So yes, I think there are so many such examples that I can cite. But it just brings me back to the fact that the reason I have also been able to try and attempt claiming public spaces at my own individual level, as well as with the While Loiter group, I still am being able to consider this because of the kind of privilege I have in the society, the kind of caste that I occupy, the kind of freedom I have probably from my parents, who will not have that much of a problem if I tell them that, these are the kind of things I try to do as social experiments. So that is a huge amount of privilege. So if I can do this, I can't even imagine the number of people who do not have this privilege to even entertain the idea of claiming public space. So yeah, with that, I would just like to leave that thought over there. Thank you.
मधम मधम तेरी गीली हंसी,
तू हंसती रहे, की लाली खिलती रहे, जुल्फों के नीचे बरगद पे सुबह शाम जलती रहे, सोनी सी हंसी तेरी खिलती रहे, खिलती रहे।
ओ से गाओ। ढूंढे तुझे दीवाना, सपनों में रोज आए, आ जिंदगी में आना, ओ जाने जाना। ढूंढे तुझे दीवाना, सपनों में रोज आए, आ जिंदगी में आना सनम। कौन से गाना है? माँ से।
लास्ट स्टेशन है, लास्ट गाना होगा माँ।
माँ जब तक लड़की गाना नहीं गाएंगे तब तक घाटों पर भी उतर नहीं सकते। चलो चलो चलो, तुम ही लोग गा दो।
मैं भी हूँ।
हम होंगे कामयाब, हम होंगे कामयाब, हम होंगे कामयाब एक दिन। हो मन में है विश्वास, पूरा है विश्वास, हम होंगे कामयाब एक दिन। हम चलेंगे साथ साथ, डाले हाथों में हाथ, हम चलेंगे साथ